Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Going Ballistic podcast. Sorry I missed you last week. Things have been crazier and crazier in a really good way with Mayday safety. So, you guys have already been spreading the word about that because I get more than one every day, company or school district or somebody contacting me about it, saying that somebody heard about it on this podcast and brought it to their attention, which is awesome. I really appreciate it. The app is almost completely done. I think we have about another week till we start the full-on beta testing, which is not just me goofing around with it. It's actually getting other users out there to work the kinks out and make sure it's going okay. And then it might be released within the next couple of weeks. That's the free app. Now the side that I'm actually going to make money on, hopefully, that's going to run the business, is what I'm calling Mayday Pro. And the Mayday Pro is where there's the actual dashboard to manage everything. And I'd like to talk about it a little bit more, but first, I want to bring back Jason. Jason Kleckner's with us. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Good. Working hard, all the normal life stuff that we all have to deal with.
Man, this podcast is a good time for me to remember another week went by. Just
2
with
weeks.
kids and work. Oh, 2 weeks, that's true. But just kids and work and everything, it goes so quick. But man, glad to have you back. And for everyone that doesn't get it, Jason and I are cousins. We're not brothers. I get that a lot. Do you get that a lot in comments?
Oh, all the time. People, hey, I saw your brother. And I'm thinking, you did? Where'd you see him at? Yeah, he was online. I'm like, okay, well, Jared's not online anymore. So
here's a way you can tell us apart. When I was younger and on an antelope, my first big game animal hunt was an antelope hunt up in Chino Valley, Arizona. We're different in that Jason's dad, my Uncle Bill, just kept shooting an antelope and couldn't hit it. I finally had to grab the rifle from him and show him how it was done and hit the antelope. And then when we got up to it, he didn't know what to do. And I said, Uncle Bill, stand back. I'll show you how to clean this thing. And is that right, Jason?
it's not the story I was told, but I wasn't there.
No, apparently Jason and I were talking beforehand. I forget telling the antelope story, and I left my Uncle Bill out. And no, that was actually we stayed at Uncle Bill's place up there, and he's the one that got us out and got us onto the antelope. And I don't remember it because I was pretty young, but I think he was even the one that I think I field dressed it, and he's the one that got it back and spun it for me. So no, Uncle Bill is a big part of that trip, and I know he listens. So I just wanted to get a rise out of Uncle Bill. So.
Oh, yeah.
So we're definitely going to get into the school shooting that happened today. But before we get into the more somber news, give me some good updates, man. What's been going on with you?
Well, I have not been out shooting. Got my new spotting scope, which we talked about last time. I've not been able to really try it out. Just been too busy. But
Yeah.
I did order a bunch of ammo. So I got 400 rounds of 308 shipped in. I had 600 rounds of Spire Point shipped in.
Oh, wow. What did you get for the 308?
They had it on sale, so I've been using, and I don't know why I can't think of the name right now. Anyway, box 100 for $100.
Okay. Well, if you guys are going to look for ammo online, I'm starting to set up more affiliate accounts so you can help support the show. Check out luckygunner.com. I'll put a link. It's important to use the link. So if you use the link, then it supports Jason and I. You don't pay any more. You get the same price you see there, but they give us a little bit of love for sending people to you from your order. And also Brownells. Brownells has some good deals on things that are going on. And they may not be the lowest price on ammo. I haven't found that. Lucky Gunner is usually the best on ammo for me between the two. But Brownells has everything else, and they have great prices on firearms too because they started selling firearms recently. And what I like the most about the Brownell stuff lately is they're getting into the firearms game themselves, not just selling other people's firearms, but the stuff they're making. If you remember that Polymer 80 build I did, where I did the non-Glock Glock, I built that. Every single part, including the magazine, was a non-Glock part just for fun. And I got every single thing from Brownells. I mean, it was an entire cart checkout, purchase, shipped straight to my house. Now, I can get guns to my house because I'm an FFL. And of course, there's a shout out to another sponsor, which is really just me, I guess, is Rocket FFL if you want to get your FFL. But if you do the things through Brownells and you're getting non-gun parts like the Polymer 80 kit, you don't need an FFL. But so not only are they making cool things, but their slide. Man, that non-Glock slide I got has forward serrations on it. It has a nice finish to it. It's an awesome machining and fit. And I forget the cost, but I think it was like $120 or $130 for a complete Glock slide. Guys, if you want to send your slide off to get front serrations put on it, it's going to cost you more than $120. I was actually expecting it to be cheap and not work. It's amazing. And now they're starting to make 22 receivers, which people are getting more and more into 22 now that 22 long rifles available. And I've been getting a lot of questions, just like what you and I talked about 22s. What are you thinking about getting 22s for, Jason?
As far as what I'm paying for them, or what?
No, what are you thinking about? You mentioned that you wanted to get a 22.
Oh yeah. So and I remember the name now. It slipped me early. The atomic ammo is what I'm using in my 308.
Oh yeah,
I don't reload yet. So Midway had them on sale for $100 for a box of 100, which is great. They're normally 135, I think. But like we were talking earlier, the long range thing is great. I have so much fun doing it. But for the average person like myself, a trip out is easily a couple $100. So it gets a little spendy, when you try to go out and go shooting all the time. So my next project, I think for me would, and I know nothing about it, so I can't wait to get in on this and see what you have to say, is to build a 22 long rifle long range, which I think would be a blast, especially shooting out 300 yards, 250 yards, and something I think I can get my brother in on with me where we can, do our normal brother competition type stuff.
Right.
So I've seen some online, some that guys have built. Some guys are shooting some crazy 500-yard shots with them and filming it. But it would be inexpensive, and I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Dude, it is the way to go for getting a trainer. So first, real quick, back to your 308 ammo that you're buying. A little known ammo, I don't think I've ever talked about it before, that you should check out. And I think most people haven't heard of it, is CBC. It's just the letters CBC, so Charlie Bravo Charlie, ammo. You can get their 175 grain, I think they call it match. Sometimes I've seen the boxes say sniper on it. It's like a yellowish green and white box. You can get them in 50 rounds or larger boxes. And it is kind of an equivalent to the military's 118 LR. So it's the like NATO sniper cartridge. It's actually really good stuff for the price. Now, it's not going to beat Federal Gold Medal Match or some of the nicer Hornady stuff out there. But CBC is actually the manufacturer for most, if not all, I'll just say most, of the NATO countries' ammunition supply. So we don't hear of them here in America, but like we have our Lake City ammo plant, which makes the military ammo here. But the rest of the world uses CBC, and everyone knows what that is. So you can get this stuff, check it out. My experience with it is it shoots right at a minute of angle. So I don't think I've ever gotten a group smaller than that, but I've been using it in gas guns because I'm going to go through a lot of ammo. So like when I'm shooting an AR-10, I've had a lot of experience with that out at Colby's Ranch at Texas Triggers. He uses that stuff. And again, you're not going to shoot any maybe record-breaking groups with it, but when you're just trying to smack steel at distance and have some fun, let me know if you can find any good prices on it, because everywhere I've seen, it's kind of in the foreign ammo cheaper category. So anyway, check that out. But the 22 long rifle, this is why you need a 22 long rifle trainer. Of course, the cost is going to save you tons when you're shooting that. But it's also going to make you a better shooter, because you know how I'm such a big fan of dry practicing or dry firing. That's because of the noise and the recoil and even just the cost for the practice. I want you getting trigger time and being able to see where that reticle was when the shot broke. Well, if you can set up a 22 long rifle, you can get all the practice of dry firing, but you can get it while shooting actual ammo because it's so cheap. So instead of making sure that your reticle didn't jump, you can actually see a group on paper. You can actually shoot little tiny targets, which is fun. Now, don't mistake the dry firing on 22s and do that together. So it is safe to dry fire all modern firearms. Dry fire the snot out of them, okay? Except for rim fires. Now, have we covered that yet, Jason?
No, we've never talked about not dry firing rim fires.
All right, do not dry fire rim fire firearms. The reason is, if you look at the bolt, especially like on a Ruger 1022 or something like that of a rimfire rifle, you can see that often the firing pin is more of a blade. It's not a pin. It's like a flathead screwdriver. That's because they're trying to make sure they get the entire rim, ignited on the ammo. What you have is that offset firing pin, especially with the blades. The headspace for rimfire ammo is on the base of the cartridge. So it's not headspaced up on the shoulder like it is most rifle rounds, or on the rim of the brass, the forward lip of the brass like on handgun rounds. It just stops when the base stops and the bolt goes flat up against it. Because as you know, 22s don't really lock like most firearms do. Okay, so most firearms go through the 8 cycles of function: feeding, chambering, locking, firing, unlocking, extracting, ejecting, and cocking. Remember those. Every gun goes through those, even revolvers. Okay.
I got it. No.
Feeding. So I tell you, everything's got a mnemonic. That one's got a dirty mnemonic. So I'll share it with you offline that I use to remember it. But so feeding, because every gun, semi-auto pistol, bolt action rifle, even a revolver technically, or even a 203 grenade launcher, you're feeding the cartridge in from either the magazine or the ammo source. Okay, that's it getting into the chamber. Then chambering is when it's actually finally seeding into the chamber to where the headspace is stopping it. Okay, that's so feeding, chambering. Locking is, except for rimfire and some 9mm carbines, most guns lock the action somehow. Because if you don't lock the action and the bolt is just there under spring tension, like on a Walther PPK or like 9mm carbines or most rimfires, when the bullet is firing, it's kind of like jumping off of a trampoline. There's no good platform for the bullet to leave from. Does that make sense?
Right.
So you want it to lock. Of course, it fires. And then however it happens, whether you're manually doing it or with a bolt action or something else, it's unlocking. And then it extracts the brass out of the chamber. And then it ejects the brass out of the gun. And then it recocks. So feeding, chambering, locking, firing, unlocking, extracting, ejecting, cocking. And by knowing those 8 cycles of function, you can then help diagnose and describe what malfunctions you have too. So when someone says, "Oh, my gun failed to eject," really? Like, describe it to me. Like, well, the brass was stuck in there, in the chamber. It wouldn't come out of the chamber. I'm like, okay, well, that's a failure to extract. And if it's a failure to extract, I'm going to look at the extractor first and see if the little claw is broken.
Right.
If it's a failure to eject, I'm going to look at the ejector. I'm going to see maybe if there's not enough blowback happening to allow the brass to get out, or a failure to chamber versus a failure to feed. So anyway, those are the 8 cycles of function. So rimfires typically don't have those because the bolt is going forward until it can't go forward anymore, which means when you don't have any ammo in there, so picture the 22 again, the bolt is going to go all the way forward and rest on the chamber face, on the edge of the barrel, right?
Right.
Because there's no other reason for it to stop. When you pull the trigger and dry fire it, that firing pin is going to smack the edge of the chamber. And you can actually see on like a Ruger 1022 is a perfect example. People that have done a lot, you can pull the bolt back and look at the face of the chamber, which you'll see is just one big flat circle. There's no like feed ramps or anything to go in there. You'll actually see a divot being started to make in the edge of the chamber because of the firing pin. And you can also probably imagine how that divot is going to start making a little burr of metal stick down towards into the chamber.
Right.
Makes
that
sense?
makes sense.
Yeah, so you dry fire one enough, you actually won't get your rounds to get in, or they won't come out because it'll scratch. So rim fires are not meant to be dry fired. It's not because they'll break. It's just you're going to damage the chamber area. So sorry for that sidetrack there, but some people want to make sure they tune in to hear us talk about gun stuff and want to learn something. So maybe there's something to learn. But the reason you practice with a 22 is you're not using a 223. That's one reason. Is so many guys ask me, well, hey man, I have this expensive gun. I shoot a 300 Win Mag. I shoot something like that. Can I just get a 223 trainer and train with the cheap, 223 ammo? Well, no, you can't. Well, I guess you can, but no, you can't as well as you can with a 22. And here's why. One is the 223 is going to require the same noise protection and the same distances and range and berms and everything as a regular rifle is going to require, right? 22 you can plink with and get away with just, if you got a silencer, even better, but you're not going to cause all the same noise you are with a large rifle, and you're not going to have the same berms and backstops as you are with a large rifle. But most importantly is if you're trying to save money, the cheap 223 ammo sucks. So cheap 223 ammo is 55 grain full metal jacket. You're not going to get the consistent results that you want out of it. So what you're going to end up doing is shooting a bad group and trying to figure out what you did wrong. And really, there's nothing you did wrong. It's crap ammo. So then you start getting the nicer ammo again to get back to a not high quality barrel, the quality ammo, things like that. And now you might as well just be shooting the gun that you should be shooting. Where with a 22, not only can you get the quality ammo for a lot cheaper, but you get the no recoil, you get the very, very low noise, to shoot, and a decent 22 barrel shoots really accurately. You're also not having to worry about the distances for the range to practice. Go practice with a 223 at 25 yards. You're not going to be able to tell anything. But at 22, even at 25 yards, you can practice doing perfect little tiny groups. Or if you only have 50 yards to shoot, you can shoot, little steel metal, much cheaper, by the way, steel targets with a 22 and still get tons and tons of practice. Now, the biggest difference I see in quality of ammo is in 22s. Okay, so even cheap 223 will shoot better than cheap 22. Okay, you can take any 22 rifle, put the dirtiest, junkiest 22 crap in there, and you will see at 100 yards, you can see a group bigger than the size of my hand. You get a 10-inch group. Then at the same setting, you put in quality ammo, you'll get down to a 1-inch group. So the difference in quality of ammo is the biggest with 22. So we have the chats going crazy. I love it, guys, that you're in here. Steven just asked, what would be quality 22 ammo? Great question. It's also, not only do you have the widest range of good to bad in 22 ammo, you also have a very big issue with the pickiness of guns. So I'm going to list you with a few brands of 22 ammo you should try, but your gun is going to like one and not the others. And the very next gun is going to be the opposite. So you got to really find the ammo that your gun likes for 22 ammo. Believe it or not, a really good source for match grade 22 ammo is Wolf.
Really?
Wolf ammo? Yeah.
I do.
The Russian AK ammo. Wolf makes match grade 22 that's match grade 22. It's really good stuff. And matter of fact, a lot of these local matches with 22s, it's not uncommon to see Wolf ammo up there because it is really high quality stuff. I guess they have biathlons figured out over there, so maybe that's why. Also good 22 ammo. Any of the Ely ammo, ELEY, the match grade ammo, that works good, but it's a little more expensive. CCI ammo, that's my favorite. I use the CCI standard velocity. That's actually the model number for the ammo. It's just standard velocity. I use that stuff because it's more expensive than the bulk 22, but it's not as expensive as the super match grade ammo. And the reason I like the CCI standard velocity is, one, it's extremely consistent, awesome ammo. But two, is my favorite ammo in my 22 is CCI green tag. So the model is green tag. That's what it's called. And the beauty of it is CCI even advertises this. They load the same weight and shape of bullet in the standard velocity and the green tag, and they load them to the exact same velocity. I think they're both 1,140 feet a second. So you can use the moderately priced 22 ammo, which is still way cheaper than any other rifle ammo, for plinking, for practicing, but it's not just junk plinking. It's actually plinking where you can hit what you're aiming at just fine, and you can get a nice tight group on it. And then when you really want to shoot accurately, you just throw the green tag in, and it's the exact same point of aim and impact and zero and everything. The group just gets smaller. So by doing the standard velocity and the green tag combo, you can buy a bunch of the standard velocity and only have a little bit of the green tag and know that your scope is zeroed for both. So that's my trick that I do. What rifles are you looking at, Jason?
Well, and that's just it. I mean, I have a 1022. I have a bolt action. I'm more interested in looking, and I'm going to start researching into trying to build one where I can put the trigger I want in it. You know what I mean? Whether it's bolt or auto, I have no idea where it's going to lead me. An AR platform would be a lot of fun. But I know you like your CZ22.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
So yeah, Tika makes a nice one now. I don't have experience with it. Matter of fact, I happen to have 22s here with me. Let me go over and grab them real quick. Do you mind? Look at some of the comments if you don't mind. I'm going to slide over and grab some rifles. See if you can answer anyone's questions there.
I'll take a look here.
All right, everybody. Sorry for the dead air. I was trying to get Jason to talk while I was gone.
I didn't even get the arrow up to read through them yet.
No worries. So here is my CZ452. Comes with a 16-inch threaded barrel that you can see here. And it has like a tactical style stock. They actually call it the Tacticool model because this is the Boyd's Tacticool stock. This thing's awesome. I put the Leupold rimfire scope on it, a little Vari X2 rimfire. Now, the reason I carry a rimfire scope on this rifle is no, you don't need a special scope just for rimfire. I mean, you can use any scope that you want, honestly, except like an air rifle scope. But the reason I do the rimfire is the parallax setting is actually set at 50 yards. where most rifles have a fixed parallax are set at 100 yards or 200 yards or something that's a little too far for 22 to be shooting. So when you're trying to shoot the close targets, a la 50 yards, you never have your parallax just right, where the rimfire scopes have that set already. So I like these. So this one, the reason I like the CZ for the 22s is the bolt is like a real rifle bolt. I mean, it's actually substantial. It has some meat to it. It actually cycles like a regular rifle. It doesn't bind up really bad like the cheaper 22s. The trigger's great out of the box. I love this thing. I actually might convert this one on all the 452s. Or is it the 455? Oh, it's the 455. I'm sorry. This is the newer model, the 455. On all these 455s, you can change the barrel and convert it to 22 Win Mag or 17 HMR just by changing the barrel out. So the magazines actually have a spacer in the mag well, so you can take the trigger guard off, take the spacer out, and you pop in a 17 HMR magazine, put the new barrel on, and now you have, you know, a little higher power long range gun. So I like this one. Now let me go grab the other one that I have actually sitting here, which is an AR style 22 that might be what you're looking for. Hold on.
Well, and I'm curious too. Like you said, it came with a good trigger on the CZ. Are you able to swap out the triggers and buy an upgraded trigger? I mean, I have no.
You are. You can buy an upgraded trigger, but you're going to like the one that's on there.
Okay.
You really will. It's not going to be a Trigger Tech, but it's a 22. You're going to have fun. So here is a Smith & Wesson M&P 1522. So AR style. Have a suppressor on this one, and a light on an obnoxious light that I had in a bin, and a Vortex red dot on this thing. This thing is a hoot to shoot. It's fun to train with. It's fun to shoot with. It's a good with the light on there. It might be good for pest control. It's not going to be a target gun though. It's not near as accurate as the CZ is. So if you want an AR style, absolutely get it. You know, you want to teach a kid to shoot, and before you put an actual AR-15 in their hands, you should have them be shooting one of those if you have one, because all the controls are the same, the feel's the same, very, very little recoil, you know, or none at all. And it's just cheap to shoot with. So I love that thing. Now I put a Geisley trigger in that. So that's what kind of snob I am. I put a Geisley trigger in my.
Now, is it an actual AR platform, or is it like smaller?
The exterior dimensions are the exact same as an AR.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, I haven't decided yet. I'm leaning more towards a bolt just because I've noticed that I'm not chambering when I should be chambering after I shoot, which we talk about.
If you want a training rifle, you need to get a bolt.
Okay.
And it's just going to be more accurate. You're going to be able to lay on it like an actual stock, like you're used to, and you're going to be able to get practice out of it. If you want something to go plinking for fun, and you can't decide between a 1022 or an AR style, then maybe go for the AR style. But that's definitely just for plinking.
Oh, I don't know. I got a 1022 and those to plink around with. Now, that CZ that you just showed, does it come just like you showed it? The stock, everything?
Mm-hmm. It's called the CZ 455 Tacticool. And again, that's just because that's what Boyd's calls that stock. It's a great deal. Now, the stock is actually wood, but they have a textured paint on it, so it looks like a fiberglass or carbon fiber stock, but it's not. It's just a fun little gun. And out of the box, it's all you need. I mean, it really is. It's done. Threaded barrel, stock, trigger, everything. It's fun. It's fun to play with. And I actually think this trigger on this one's adjustable too. And the wrench they put under the trigger guard. So you take the trigger guard off, and there's a little wrench hidden underneath there for you. You take it out, and you can adjust the trigger and put it all back together. So it's actually really fun. Now I actually have a Scout, and I don't have it here. It's in a safe. But I picked one up for a kid's rifle, the CZ 455 Scout. The thing's awesome. It's a tiny little wood stock, had a little 16-inch barrel. It's threaded, and it comes with iron sights because I think kids learn better on iron sights. I'd always rather teach a kid on iron sights first before I go to a scope. And it is so fun to plink with. I've been plinking with it. I think I like it almost better than this big 22 because it's so tiny. I mean, I really got to get up on the stock, and it's not really comfortable to shoot, but it's fun just to plink with because it's so little. And instead of a magazine, it has what looks like a magazine in there, but it's a single shot adapter. So the top of it is just a curved piece of plastic. So you can just throw one shell in at a time. So you can limit the kids, the ammo they're shooting. So that's a cool one too. Yeah. Now, Tika came out with one. I went and saw it at SHOT Show. I have not shot it yet. I played with it. It feels nice, but I don't know. If you're not set on having to have it, it doesn't have iron sights. I don't like that. So that's why I got the CZ Scout with the iron sights. But you couldn't go wrong with either one of those. Now, Ruger, who's just killing it lately, came out with their precision rifle in 22. So you know the Ruger precision rifle?
Right.
They have a 22 one now.
And I think the Gremlin 31 brought it up, the RPR.
Yeah. So that's cool. So if you have a Ruger precision rifle, you need to get the precision rifle 22 trainer. Now, I was just actually got to hang out with Kyle Lamb again on Monday, and he was showing me his. He got one of the Ruger ones, and he likes it, but not quite the accuracy I think he's looking for, is what he was saying. You know, so the CZs though were just, you want to go to a local 22 match, you'll see guys there with the bone stock CZs, and they shoot lights out. I imagine the Tikas be good too, but again, I don't know. So there's your options.
Yeah, and that's the other fun part I'm looking forward to this is I could buy a cheap $150 scope that has the adjustable turrets and there's not enough kick to knock it off or worry about it.
Yeah.
And just, not go nuts with it.
Yep.
So I'm excited. So that's going to be my next project for tinkering around, is start looking into those and see what road it takes me down.
All right. I'm looking at some of the comments here real quick. Sorry, man.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Lots of people say they appreciate us having on. Awesome, guys. Glad to be here. Glad you guys are liking it. 95 Coop said he made it out to 900 yards. Awesome feeling. Thanks. You're welcome, man. Hope we helped. Doug wants us to do a bow hunting podcast. Maybe we can talk about that next, coming up in the future. DG Gremlin 31 also said he just finished Rocket FFL, got his LLC in Delaware, now working on the city permit. That's awesome, man. He says, awesome course. I appreciate it. Ethan asked, how many dry firings would it take to damage the chamber enough to cause problems? Ethan, you can just look at it and see. If you're seeing visible marks, might be causing problems. And if you can feel a burr hanging down at all, that's enough to cause problems, but it can be fixed. Just don't dry fire it anymore. What I will do is I'll take empty 22 shells and I'll put them in and I'll dry fire in those if I want to. And I'll just keep turning the shells. You'll see the shell will get different marks on it all the way around. And that's kind of a cheap way to save it if you're at home adjusting the trigger or something, you want to see what it can do. Let's see. Brandon asked, does the 22 ammo go transonic at a very short distance, making it hard to shoot accurately? Maybe. What I shoot is all subsonic anyway, Brandon. So that standard velocity in the green tag. So standard velocity 22 is subsonic. So guys that'll go spend extra money on ammo that's branded subsonic for silencer use, you're wasting your money. Just get standard velocity and it's already subsonic. So all the stuff I shoot is already subsonic, as is almost all match grade 22 ammo is going to be subsonic already. So you'll be fine. Now the bulk packs are either high velocity or hyper velocity, which is even higher than high velocity. So yeah, those might be an issue, but I'm not worried about it. I'm shooting out to 100 maybe at most for actually groups. And if I want, I'll plink out at distance just to have fun. Let's see. Robert asked, if I'm shooting 308 at 200 yards, how much do I need to worry about a 5 to 10 mile an hour wind throwing off the shot? It'll throw it off, not much. 5 mile an hour wind, maybe half inch. 10 mile an hour wind, maybe up to a full inch. It's not going to matter that much. At 100, I don't even worry about it. But Chris asked, thoughts on the 17 WSM versus the 17 HMR? Both are great. I mean, the 17 WSM outperforms the HMR, but HMR has been adopted more and is available in more places. So I'm thinking of converting mine to a 17 HMR. Ethan asked, do I like 22 conversions for a full-size AR-15? No, Ethan, I do not. I have been blessed with my jobs that I kind of am able to spoil myself with guns, so I don't mind just picking up a new gun. If money is an issue, sure, get yourself a 22 conversion. I'm not going to judge anyone for doing that. That could be a good economical solution. And it gives you the same rifle and the same trigger, the same everything. However, they are plagued with reliability problems, and they're going to fill your barrel up with lead. Because if you're shooting the match grade 22, it's almost always going to be bare lead. And the way those work is there's an extension on those adapters that actually fills the whole chamber where the 223 shell would normally go, except it can't fill up to the rifling. So you have that jump at the end of where the neck of the 22 would be to the rifling, and you're shooting lead, you're just going to fill that barrel up with lead. So you have to really get in there and scrub that lead out. That's one of the reasons I don't like them. Boom. Money to RPR. Yeah, people like the 22s. Murray says his CZ455 will put 5 under a dime at 50 meters. Yeah, I agree, man. That's what mine does easily. They're great rifles. I think you guys will like them. But then again, there's other good solutions out there too. So cool, man. Are you going to get a 22 then? Which one are you going to get?
I don't know. I'm going to research it and make my decision. But This is why I wanted to talk about
No,
it
you have to
on
tell
the
us now,
podcast.
Jason.
Oh no, I'm not going to tell you now. I won't tell you until I get it and show it just the butt of it and see if you can guess what it is.
Okay, that'll be
See how
fun.
much you make a little game out of it.
So, if you're thinking about matching your rifle now, you should get the Tactical. Just because the Ruger's going to have a pistol grip, you know, the Tikas and some of the other ones have smaller standard rifle style stocks. I actually will put a cheek pad on the CZ Tactical, and it feels just like a regular full size rifle. So it's actually kind of cool. So, all right, man. Well, awesome.
And then I had some other new news that I'm noticing now that I'm shooting more and more and more.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to move my scopes because
Okay.
I found myself when I started, and I think this is from hunting because it's a standing holding thing. But now that I'm laying down and shooting, I'm starting to get closer to the scope because of the way I'm laying, and it's my parallax is changing. To where I guess I was starting with my head back further.
Most people do that.
And now I like it better up. So I'm gonna have to start playing with that stuff. So I don't know if that's normal when you're shooting or not.
That's cool. Jason, I love that you bring this stuff up, man. This is awesome. I love that you're getting into long range shooting because everything you bring up is exactly the stuff I take for granted, and I'm sure everyone else is thinking too. Yes, you get the average person that's not like a trained shooter on a rifle, but has plenty of experience hunting and is a good shooter. They will almost always get on the rifle and they'll crunch their neck back on the rifle. They'll push that shoulder forward and bring their neck back, almost always. And then they'll move their head to try and adjust to see through the scope. Well, you need to set your guns up the same every time, which is you need to go home, or maybe you can do it at the range, whether you do it at home where your tools are. Close your eyes and lay down behind your rifle and lay your head on the rifle and get in the most comfortable position possible. Make sure your neck and your shoulders aren't flexed at all, and get your head perfect where you could like take a nap and then open your eyes. And if your scope isn't in the right spot, you need to adjust it. Don't adjust your head to the scope.
Right.
So most full-size guys, the scope's going to go all the way forward. I don't even know why manufacturers still do this, but I got a big head, so I really got to do it. But all my rifles, my scope is as far forward as possible as it can get on the rails, and even then, I wish I had like another half inch forward.
Yeah, and I started doing that. I mean, when I first set them up, I got down to where I was just used to it. But as I'm shooting more and my position changes, it's going to have to move, and I'm going to have to resight them in because now I'm getting into a position that's really comfortable and locked in to where I'm like, well, shit, I got to move back.
Yeah. Move your scope forward, man. Move your scope forward.
No, I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to start moving them all. I'm noticing it now more and more and more.
Good. And just don't guess. Get on it like we talked about. You know, close the eyes, get in a natural position, take a couple breaths, make sure you're comfortable, and then open your eyes and then move the scope till you can see clearly. And then do it at high power. So you can loosen your scope rings completely so the scope can slide freely. And then you do the thing with your eyes closed, open it, move the scope so you can see clearly, and then make sure you're on high power because at low power, the scope shadow is going to be at its widest possible point.
Right.
So you think it's going to be okay. Make sure you go to the highest power where it brings the scope shadow down tight and make sure it's okay. If you don't know for sure, then you can bring your head a little forward and back and make sure you're in the center of that range where it's nice and clear. BC Outdoor says he has a nice half-ring scar from doing that 2 years ago. Yep, that's called scope bite, when the scope smacks you on your eyebrow. Yeah, we were in France in the French Alpine mountaineering course, which was really, really fun to do. And our little tiny French instructors that were like mountain goats, they went straight up the mountains, even though we picked on them for being so little. And in our rucks, when we get to camp and have to like dig a snow cave or something, we'd be breaking out all of our like military gear. And they had these tiny little European backpacks, and they would open it up and they'd have a giant loaf of bread, a bottle of wine, and like some cheese. That was what they would bring up the mountain. We're like, are you guys kidding? They'd break open a glass bottle of wine up in the mountains, and we were bringing like, I don't know, military gear. So it was kind of funny. But we were up there and we're actually shooting rodents. I forget if I told this story or not, so I'm not going to tell it now. But we were shooting rodents out there, and we wanted to give one of the instructors a chance. We called him Coppertone because he was like perfectly tan. And he ended up getting on one of our rifles. I forget whose. Got all up on the rifle. We're trying to teach him how to shoot it, and he pulls the trigger, and it comes back and scope bites him. First shot right in the eyebrow. A little bit of blood starts going down, his eye, and he completely misses the animal. And we're giving him a hard time, like, "Oh my God, what did you do? What'd you do?" And his answer came back. He goes, "It's for the better anyway." like it was for the better because he didn't hit the animal. And we all just looked at each other like, what? What are you talking about? So yeah, so scope bite is a real thing. Here's something else that happened when I was out with Kyle on Monday. I was shooting his P365, that little new compact that they have.
That
And
you're
I
in
don't
love
know if
with?
it'll
Yeah.
show on the screen, but it's on my Instagram and on Facebook. I don't know if you can see that group there on the target. That's a 10-round group at 10 yards. So it was the first group I shot with it. Just stood back at 10 yards, and by the way, it holds 12. So I like it could have kept shooting. Shot 10 rounds and walked up. I'm like, oh, that's picture worthy. I'll take a picture of that one. So that little thing is more accurate than the other guns I was shooting. So in the picture, I carefully cropped out groups that aren't near as good. And the groups that aren't near as good are my full-size guns that I'm supposed to be able to shoot better groups with. So I don't know what it was. I don't know if I had to focus more because it was a tiny gun or what, but it was twice as good, twice as accurate as any other group I shot, and it was with MagTech ammo. I just snagged a bunch of MagTech ammo recently, and that stuff, there's another example for very inexpensive, but holy smokes, accurate 9mm ammo. So check that out too.
Now, we had started to bring up at the beginning of the podcast what happened this morning,
Yeah.
which was a different result. And I don't know, I haven't read everything on it yet, but, and we're talking about the shooting that happened this morning. But a security officer ended up shooting and stopping. And from what I understand, it was a kid. And the other two people he shot was it sounded like an ex-girlfriend and some guy she was with. But somebody had a gun and was able to stop what happened.
Yep. You mean a good guy with a gun stopped a bad guy with a gun?
That's right.
And it wasn't an AR-15?
That's right. It was a handgun.
And it was a handgun that he couldn't legally purchase anyway?
Yep.
So the two things I'm hearing the most for now is banning AR-15s and raising the minimum purchase age for rifles up to 21, where handguns are at.
Yep.
Neither one of those would have stopped this morning's school shooting.
That is correct.
Didn't use an AR-15, and he didn't have a firearm that he could legally purchase anyway.
And it's not being near as glorified.
Right, and well, go figure.
Yeah, of course.
Every school shooting is horrible. Every shooting, anytime any innocent person, especially a child, gets hurt is horrible. But it's not being sensationalized because it's not as many kids, and I just don't think it fits the narrative. Good guy with a gun stopped it. Wasn't an AR-15, and the gun laws would not have stopped it. So first off, I mean, we know that criminals don't obey laws. That's kind of the definition of a criminal.
Right.
If laws completely worked, then we literally would not have criminals by definition. So laws don't work anyway. You look at places like France, who in 1 year had more victims from mass shootings than we did in 8 years. Right? In a place that bans AR-15s completely and AK-47s completely, and they still had worse in 1 year. And they're a fifth the population we are.
But they don't ever talk about that. I mean, you hear them talk about how we should follow the reform. It's, everything's great. It's fantastic since we did it.
Oh, and people talk about Australia too. They're like, hey, they did a gun ban and their violence went down. No, their gun violence went down. And that's the problem, is I think too many people are trying to fix gun violence. We should be trying to stop all violence.
That's right.
Because if you try and stop all violence, you realize that guns are actually a necessary tool to protect people. You know, these gun-free zones are magnets for these school shootings. So less guns. The places where guns aren't allowed is where these shootings happen. And the single mom at home trying to protect her children from a home intruder, her best defense is a firearm. So you take all guns away, you're going to have more victims. They're not maybe going to be of gun violence, but they're going to be violence victims. So I actually, John Oliver, I think, used to be on Stephen Colbert's show. He did his own thing. He did a gun control deal trying to pick on pro-gunners as being idiots. And he interviewed the Prime Minister of Canada at the time when they put their gun ban into effect. And he said, he was being sarcastic. He's like, well, that's just crazy. A gun ban wouldn't work, would it? And the Prime Minister says, no, actually, in fact, we saw an immediate decrease in gun violence. He said, actually, we saw an immediate decrease in gun violence. He corrected himself. And then the segment went on. And maybe a few other people did it too. But as soon as I saw that, I jumped at the screen. I'm like, I know what that was. I saw why he caught himself. Because he knows that violence didn't decrease. In fact, violent crime increased in Australia since the gun ban. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
murders, rapes, robbery, that has all increased in Australia since they banned guns. So their violent crime has gone up from banning guns. So the problem is they always like bring out the facts, and that guy messed up and he caught himself and no one noticed. Is he tried to say, yeah, violence went down. I mean, gun violence went down. Well, guys, if we're trying to stop gun violence, okay, ban guns. I think it won't work still, but maybe for the sake of argument, sure. You got a magic wand that can make all the guns disappear, which you can't, but let's say you could. Yes, gun violence is going to go down, but not all violence. In fact, violence is going to get worse, kind of like Australia, where you try and ban guns like, I don't know, Chicago, who's got the worst firearms related problems in the country, and they have some of the strictest gun laws. I mean, schools, I can go on and on and on about how banning the guns doesn't work, and then how even the places that don't have the firearms have the worst violent crime. Is it Sweden that's becoming, like, I think, the rape capital of the modern world? Of the civilized world, I think Sweden's the worst from all the problems they have coming in there now with all the quote-unquote refugees. Yeah, they don't have a gun violence problem. They have an unarmed victim problem. So I don't know, man. I actually wrote an article when we first talked earlier tonight. I told you I was writing an article. I don't want to say who it's for yet. It should come out tomorrow. But I actually write, the article is the 10 most common gun control arguments debunked. And I just go through each one and essentially do this. You know, you got to ban AR-15s. I'm like, well, actually, Virginia Tech was handguns. The shooting today was handguns. 9/11 was a box cutter. And I go on and on and on. You know, in Austin, Texas. Have you seen the news in Austin, Texas the last couple of days?
No, I haven't.
They have a serial bomber. There are bombs blowing up all over Austin. They had one today. This is the last couple of days this has been happening. They had one go off in a FedEx shipping center in Austin today.
Why haven't I heard about this?
It's on the news. You should be looking at Drudge Report for your news. That's what I do. But seriously, so they have a serial bomber in Austin, Texas. And I'm like, wait a minute, bombs, we should make those illegal. If we made it illegal to make your own bombs and blow people up, maybe this would solve the problem. You know, Oklahoma City bombing, 9/11, the two worst, you know, mass murders we've had in our history are those two. Neither one were firearms at all. So anyway, we can go on and on about the problems. Or 10-round magazines. Well, that's not going to solve anything. You know, the shooter in Florida, you know, he used 10-round magazines?
No, I didn't know that.
He used his AR-15 and a bunch of 10-rounders. He didn't have a single magazine over 10 rounds on him. So that's not going to stop anything. Virginia Tech shooter used mostly 10-round magazines. I think he had something like 25 10-round magazines and 2 15-round magazines. That's all he had. In Columbine, one of the shooters only had 10-round magazines. Yeah, guys, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but it just frustrates me when we hear these kind of arguments.
It does. And like you said, it's horrible whenever anything like that happens. And I don't ever like to hear those things. But it was nice to hear that somebody was armed and stopped what happened from 2, which could have been a lot more.
Yes, which is also why we need guns too. I mean, that cop was a hero, and that's awesome. But part of people are asking in the comments too, which I appreciate asking about the app, and I'll get more into details about it. But one of the quotes I have on the school safety page for maydaysafety.com is essentially when seconds count, the police are minutes away. And that's not trying to say anything bad about law enforcement. They just can't be everywhere at once. Legally, they actually have no constitutional duty to protect you. That's actually law. They're allowed to hide outside like the Florida deputy did and not be liable for it. There's no duty to protect you. You need the guns. I mean, if cops need the guns because they're encountering bad people, well, we're the ones that encounter the bad people while the crime is being committed. Right? We're the one encountering the bad person 18 minutes before they're encountering the bad person. So we need the guns too. So I'm glad he was able to stop that, but it took someone there with a firearm to be able to do something about it. So I'm glad he did something about it. I'm glad it worked. And it also proves that mass shootings stop when they're confronted with a gun.
Yep.
So Andrew said, thanks for liking the Buffalo Precision post. Yeah, man. He made an awesome post that showed that he won his division at a precision shooting event down at Core Shooting Solutions. And he posted a nice picture of his trophy in the book and gave me some credit for it. And dude, that was so awesome. I'm glad to share that. I think. Thanks for the feedback. Anyway, sorry, Jason. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was good.
D-Man13431 asked, have I got any more time behind the fix? I forget since last time we've talked. I've had it out to the range. I've shot it a couple times now. I'm having a blast with it. It's a light gun, though. The muzzle brake is not very effective. I think it's mostly to be a mount for a silencer. I mean, it works maybe 20% as good as a normal muzzle brake. I'm completely making that number up. It's an awesome, awesome rifle. I really, really like it. But it's a light gun and it's got some recoil to it, but it's nice. It's a lot of fun. So the app, let me say more about that if you don't mind. The website's up, guys. So go to maydaysafety.com and check out the website. I'm still cobbling it together myself because I don't have anything to do, but it's because we're still ahead of schedule. So I'm trying to put it up just so people can get to it because we're having everyone go crazy on it. Last week, I met with a state legislature. I don't want to say who it is yet because we're still trying to work with them to get them to incorporate it, and they're all excited about Mayday safety. And I mentioned at the beginning of the show the pro version's got the dashboard. That's the key that's going to be able to have organizations like schools or businesses or churches and even families track everything. So that's the paid side of it. And by getting that side, you can actually go to user management. You can add a bunch of users for your whole company, for multiple locations for your company or schools. States and counties are excited about it now because the state can look at the entire state. So it's not Arizona. So I'll just say Arizona, for example. State of Arizona government can buy Mayday Pro, subscribe to it, and they can actually look at the entire map of the state of Arizona if they want. And they can see wherever a Mayday goes off with the pings. And even better, they can do like a reverse 911. So heaven forbid a school shooting happens, boom, it pops up. Everyone's immediately notified the chain of command. You don't have a 911 operator having now to relay the information and people not know what's going on. But also they can automatically ping the 10 nearest schools to lock down just in case.
Right.
And you don't have to call the school and say, hey, you should lock down. And then they have to get the person to go to the PA speaker to say, hey, we're locking down. They don't have to do any of that because hopefully I'm going to get enough schools and teachers to use the app. The state or the county or whoever's overlooking this can lock down those 10 schools, one button click, and immediately every teacher's phone, the alarm is going to go off saying lock down and check in safe. They'll be able to race to the door, lock it, and they'll be able to click a button, which is for feedback, because every other alert solution I've seen for schools and businesses is what I call a dumb alert. They have apps that allow everyone to be notified, but that's it. Or they can use a fire alarm or a PA system, but you have no idea who got the message, and you have no idea who's safe and who needs help. So when the teachers get this alert immediately right on the screen, whether it's the state or the county or the city or just the school, they'll be able to see immediately everybody checking in green safe or red if they need more help, so you know where the problem is. And then you also have consistent messaging, so whoever's in charge can send the uniform messages to people of what to do or updates for parents. I'm just super excited about it. And if you guys are interested in what the dashboard looks like, I have screenshots of it because it's almost complete, the dashboard side of it. You can go on the website, you can just see what the dashboard views look like and how the notifications come in and how it all works. So
now,
appreciate it.
So you have a pay and you have a free.
Yep.
So what does the free one do? Just a notification?
So the app for your phone is free. I was going to make it free just to schools, and I've convinced my business partner to make it free for everybody. So the idea is we're trying to run a business, of course, but we're trying to make the world a better place. And so for anyone in the world, when it comes out that wants it, the app's going to be free. And the scary thing about that is it might cost me a fortune. If it takes off like I want it to and goes viral, I don't even want to think about how much it's going to cost me per month to have that many people on it. So I forget, have I even shown screenshots of the app on this yet? I forget if I have.
I don't know if you've done screenshots.
If you guys can see it. Well, you see it on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you see it on the website. So it works. I mean, so you can sit there and you can ping out Maydays to people. I even have a video on the website. If you go and look at the app screen, you can scroll down and you can click and watch a video of how it works. How you click it to send off a Mayday and when you get the alerts. So it's all working. So the app that's free is what you'll get is you will get what the website will explain it too, but you'll get your main screen when you open it up. The big button says Mayday, and you have to press it 3 times to send it, kind of like saying Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Right? That's the idea behind it, so you don't have accidental deals. And when you click Mayday like the first time, a little progress bar, kind of like a speedometer, goes a third of the way around it for the first click, and then it starts immediately ticking back. So if you just pressed it once, after 10 seconds, it'll go away back to 0. So you press it once, it'll jump to the third, start to go back. You press it twice, it goes to 2/3, starts to go back. Press it a third time, it signals the Mayday, and then it pings out. So for the free app, you get that, which means that every user of the app around you, in whatever distance you choose, gets the Mayday, and people that you put in your family list to get the Mayday. Now, I'm trying to figure out where the line is for free versus paid. because again, I need to not go broke, let alone
Right.
just make money. I'm thinking adding 1 or 2 family members might be free. And if you want to add more than that, or friends, I might make that the paid version. But for individuals, the price I'm figuring out now where I can make it work and afford it is $4.95 a month plus $1 per user. So if you have a family of 4, you're looking at $8.95 a month. And that gets you not only the app to add your family, but then when you pay, you get Mayday Pro. You get the dashboard. You get a chance to see what's going on and where. You get to manage users, and you can put them in different groups, and different messages can go to groups, things like that. So that's where I think about the paid pricing.
Now, is this going to be downloaded on, like, for me being an Android user, the Play Store?
It will be.
Done through
So
the website?
normally most people do their apps first on Android because Android's a lot easier to make an app for. They have less restrictions. It's easier for coding, things like that. But we decided to start with the iPhone. One, because it was harder, but we wanted to see if we could get it to work and the functionality of it, especially like with Siri. So if you don't even have to unlock your phone, you could be running away from an emergency and just scream, "Hey Siri, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday," and it'll trigger Mayday for you. Which I had to just shut my phone off, so it didn't do it. I had to click the cancel button. So the idea is that was harder to get it to work. The Android one will be soon after. It'll be much easier to do it once we get everything tested for the iPhone. But the Mayday Pro works on any internet connected device. So any browser on a smartphone, any computer will get to the dashboard of Mayday Pro to manage and see what's going on.
So well, I guess you could just use your 4G instead of your internet if you're not near an internet.
Oh yeah,
setup.
To use the dashboard, but you don't need to use the dashboard when you're out and about, really. I mean, a cop might. So we're getting law enforcement really excited because when law enforcement is off duty or just driving by anywhere and they're in the region, they can get the notice right away. Or now when law enforcement shows up on the scene, we have it set up automatically where they'll join the organization. So the free version will have a nearby emergencies tab at the bottom and an organizations tab. So you click on organizations and you're not in any zone for an organization that's a Mayday Pro. It'll just say, contact us to join. But when you go to the local shopping mall or you go to your gym and they're a subscriber, it'll immediately be on your phone, welcome to whatever gym, some details about that company, and then you can do, or you're welcome to your place of work, your business might join. You can then have a non-emergency button and you can send the security department, hey, there's a spill, hey, I see some harassment going on, there's lights on in the parking lot, all the non-emergency deals. But you'll also be then in the network of getting alerts for the organization. So, but that requires the company to pay. So the free for you is actually, I think you get quite a bit for free. And if it takes off and goes viral, D-Man says, if it comes to fruition, a company's going to be pretty damn large. Yes. So far, we're having to beat people away. So we haven't done any marketing except talking about this. And we have many, many companies and governments coming to us already trying to get it going. And we're trying to build it out for them as fast as we can. I hope this takes over. I hope everyone gets the free app and people are able in emergencies when they go travel on vacation to be able to see what's actually going on or be able to help out. That's kind of the plan. And then hopefully enough businesses see, hey, this is kind of a nice thing to have for my employees. Like when I was at Remington, we had 4,000 employees. Heaven forbid another 9/11 happens. How do you get a hold of everybody across 23 locations and salesmen on the road to see if they're safe?
Right.
Now people send emails. Hey, managers, check in with your people. Could you imagine the number of emails that would fly back and forth trying to find who's safe and who's not in checklists? If a company's on the pro version, they literally just go select all, check if safe. And then everyone's phone immediately says, are you safe? Yes or no. Right? So like, it'd be so much easier. But enough about that. I've turned this into a commercial for Mayday safety. So.
Well, and then of course, in a couple of years, Elon Musk is going to have internet everywhere on the earth. So
there you go.
Be set.
Yeah. Why not? And it works better. So we've been testing it in really low cell signal places, and it works great. So even when we're not getting phone calls to go through, it works good because it's kind of like a text message. It goes out easier than the phone call does. So yeah, man, we're excited.
That's awesome, man. I'm so happy for you. That's fantastic.
If it takes off and I don't go broke, I'm happy with that. Somebody asks what fail safes are in place, basically for people with bad intentions and or to create issues. Great question. It's like the number one question we get. We're meeting with governments to install this. And I have an answer that I like the best, but it may not be the best salesman answer, is we can't stop that. We can't stop people from doing false alarms. And you're no worse than you are now. And I know that's a crappy sales answer, but let me explain. Right now, people can do fake calls to 911. Right now, people can pull fire alarms. Right now, people can set off car alarms. Right now, people can go outside and scream, help, 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 help. All those things they can do are all methods of false alarms that people can do now. The difference is with the Mayday safety app, excuse me, we're going to know exactly who it is and exactly where they were standing when they did it. So with all the other false alarms that can be done now, which can be used and are used, you have no idea who did it. We at least will. And we'll be able to immediately communicate with everyone in the area, false alarm, which is better than what you have now, or people figure out what's going on. And on the other side is a school shooting. I want all the students to have it, right? The students in the Florida shooting were communicating better on Twitter than the teachers were. The students knew what was going on and the teachers didn't because the students were using their smartphones. I want to crowdsource safety and get everyone to feed into the alerts so we can have a whole bunch of eyeballs and everybody be notified of the alerts. That's the plan. And the question comes up, well, what if the school shooter is one of the students and he has the app? Well, good. I'd love the student that's a school shooter to be walking onto the campus like the Florida shooter was, and the teacher saw him. She saw him at the edge of the campus when he was way away from the building going, he's not supposed to be here. Well, instead of her having to now trying to call the administration office to try and get a hold of somebody to let them know, she just hits her Mayday. Bonk. Everybody locks down, and that school shooter's phone is going to go off just like everybody else's. Good. He now knows that the entire school is locked down. Right? He now knows that it's futile to even try and do anything because everyone got alerted immediately. And he also knows that everyone got a message that said, ignore the fire alarm. That's him trying to get you out. Stay locked down. So I think it's a deterrent, but maybe we'll figure out something else. Someone says, Ryan, firefighters wear beacons that will start to alarm if there's no movement in a period of time. A feature like this could play into your app. Yeah, we've definitely thought about that. The more we meet with people, the more people have let us know good ideas that we haven't thought of before. Like we've had one county government say, we check with domestic violence victims every week. And our check-in, safe or not safe, we have it for a code. So you could actually have to enter the code so it's you that you're safe. They said, oh my gosh, can we use this to just automatically check in with people every week? That would save us tons of time and cost on phone calls. Like, yeah, that's a great system. Or for medical people, if there's a certain amount of time, it's just hard to figure out what people are going to do with their smartphones, Robert. But yeah, there's a lot of benefits here. And for the firefighters wearing beacons, when the police and fire show up, when you're looking at your dashboard, they actually show up as different colors. So you can actually see where the cops and first responders are. So, all right, I'm really going to shut up about it this time. You can tell I'm excited about it. I hope it works out. So,
oh, dude, I'm excited for you. I mean, this is awesome.
So I'm figuring out a referral model too for you all. I lied. I'm not stopping talking about it. You guys can make money. I don't know how I'm going to afford it yet, but I'm going to try and set up referral links so that you guys can sign up and get a special link and help spread the word. But for now, just send people to the website. So, well, all right, man. Perfect. That's enough for me about that stuff. Any other questions about guns?
No, like I said, I'm excited to start my next little project with the 22, and who knows, maybe I'll tear it apart and Cerakote it. I haven't done that in a while. So.
I have some Cerakote projects for you.
Do you?
Yeah. And I actually forget off the top of my head what they are now. There's a few things I'm like, man, I should send these off to Jason, get them Cerakoted.
I need to practice.
I don't want you to practice on mine.
Actually, dude, I've done really good other than getting inside the upper. That's the only place I struggle.
Yeah. Is there any way you can just not Cerakote it at all?
Oh, sure. I could leave it just bare aluminum in there.
Or how about black? Can you just not sandblast the inside also?
Well, the ones that I did came bare aluminum. So,
oh, gotcha.
But sure, I wouldn't have to sandblast the inside.
Yeah, you just get like a wooden dowel to fill the inside so it blocks the ejection port on the back. Sandblast, and then only Cerakote where you sandblasted.
Yeah, I've got silicone plugs and all kinds of stuff for that. So, yeah.
Yeah, why not? Buster B said he's been a paramedic for 15 years. Be a huge breakthrough. Communication is key. Thanks, man. We hope so too. Down the road, we're actually hiring the guys and getting the group together now for all the training. So, Buster, I think you'll like that. In the training, in the app, people will be able to get how to do a tourniquet, how to do whatever right there, right from their phones. So I don't want them to be looking at it when it's time. But one of the things I'm arguing with schools about, not arguing, but telling them is, you're in elementary school and you have 2 AEDs. 2 automatic external defibrillators for elementary school students. How many tourniquets do you have? 0? There should be a couple tourniquets in every classroom. The kid's life is going to be saved by the kid next to them in the next 60 seconds. So anyway, cool, man. I want to see your 22 when you get it. We'll get you some Cerakote stuff out. Nice. Everybody out there, appreciate the Rocket FFL support. Appreciate everything else. People are really figuring out that with all these gun laws that are coming up, that maybe having an FFL is a good idea because you can still have all the AR-15s and stuff that you want if you have an FFL. So
Right.
I appreciate you guys checking that out. And now's the time, like not tomorrow, now, because you got 2 months to wait for the ATF to inspect you. So get it going, everybody else, and Jason.
Yeah, I know.
And
And me, I know. I've been slacking on it.
yes, you have.
Busy guy. I'm a busy guy.
I know, which is why my next book's not done. People are asking about that, and why the ATF compliance course isn't done, but it'll get done soon. So, all right, everybody, appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for spreading the word about everything and the podcast. Take care, guys.
Take care, everybody.